It's Levack and Goz on 104.5 The Team.
We are lucky enough to be joined by ESPN's Adam Rubin. Adam, I got to ask you right here on your home for New York sports, do the Mets make the playoffs because they're getting things right, or do they make it because they've got a real easy path?
Well, it's a combination of things, obviously. They don't face a team with a winning record the final 12 games of the season, so they have that going for them, where if you look at the Giants' schedule, they still have to face the Dodgers. If you look at the Cardinals' schedule, they still have to face the Cubs again. So certainly from that perspective, it pays dividends to have the easy schedule, and that might be the biggest factor.
So this team was 5.5 games out on August 19th. Are they actually a better team now than they were a month ago?
Well, they are healthier from that perspective. Yoenis Cespedes still from time to time has a little issue with the quad, but he's been back for a while. Asdrubal Cabrera is back now. Jose Reyes is back. So they did get some people back to stabilize the lineup. I think a lot of it is just them taking advantage of the schedule. It's been pretty incredible. I think they're 20-6 in their last 26 games. You mentioned the low point. There were 2 games under 500 back on that date in August after losing the first 2 games of the series at San Francisco, and they looked like they were done. And it's kind of amazing what's gone on because they're using a rotation right now with Robert Gsellman and Seth Lugo and Gabriel Anoa started on Sunday. He may get another start on Friday, depending upon Steven Matz's availability. So it's been kind of incredible, the storylines that and guys like TJ Rivera stepping up, that the Mets are still as competitive as they are.
Adam Rubin joins us right here on 104.5, The Team, Levack and Goz. So, Adam, I'm going to ask you what I think might be the hardest question for any Mets reporter. Let's say they advance, past the wild card game. Who would be the starting rotation for the New York Mets?
Well, they lined up Noah Syndergaard for the wild card game, which is on the Wednesday. I believe that's October 5th. And the division series would start in Chicago on the Friday. Bartolo Colon's lined up for game 1 of that series. Syndergaard wouldn't be able to come back until game 3, and then Colon would get game 5. So you're looking at who's going to pitch games 2 and 4, the unheralded guys. Right now it would be Lugo and Gsellman in some order. There's a possibility Steven Matz is back. Terry Collins called it a long shot yesterday that Matz would be ready to start one of those division series games, but Matz is going to throw a bullpen session tomorrow at Citi Field, and he may be back in the rotation on Friday. Terry seems a little hesitant to do that just because Matz would be capped at 40 or 50 pitches. He's been absent for a while now, since August, with the shoulder impingement. So Terry's wondering what value there is in starting him on Friday if he's not quite ready yet, especially since he'd have to be pulled after 2 or 3 innings.
That's the best case scenario for Mets fans if they get that far. But worst case scenario is they miss the playoffs. 9 of 12 teams, 500 and lower, 15 games under 500. They have that 1-game lead over the Giants and Cardinals. Now, if the Mets don't make the playoffs, can this be considered a choke job?
Well, I mean, obviously it depends how it happens. Given the schedule, you could argue that, but if they fail, it might be just about the fact that guys like Gsellman and Anoa and Lugo start getting hit, and they just don't get it done. So I wouldn't call that a choke by any stretch of imagination. But you look at the way that the Giants are playing and the Cardinals are playing, it's just hard to conceive that the Mets are going to finish third among those teams, because 2 of those 3 teams in all likelihood are going to get in unless something crazy happens with the Marlins. You look at the Giants game last night; they're up 1-0. Great performance from Bumgarner. Go to the bullpen in the 9th. They implode again. They give up 2 runs and lose the game in walk-off fashion at Dodger Stadium. It was the 30th lone save of the year for the Giants. So those other 2 teams have significant issues that the Mets don't have right now.
Adam, is there anybody on the team? I know Curtis Granderson's been pretty hot and stuff like that, or at least when you've needed him to be. Is there anyone on the team that can be this year's Daniel Murphy?
Well, I don't know if Daniel Murphy, if they had him, could be Daniel Murphy again, duplicating what he did with 6 straight games with a home run in the postseason last year. I'm sure anyone could catch fire. Certainly, if you look at last season, Yoenis Cespedes was the guy who led them into the playoffs. They were last in runs scored on July 31st last season when they acquired him, last in the majors, and they ended up reaching the World Series. They're the first team ever in Major League history to reach the World Series after being last in runs scored on July 31st. So certainly if he heats up and does well, that would be the best case scenario. I mean, the guy they would love to heat up is Jay Bruce. It's been kind of a disaster since he was acquired on August 1st. Last year, Cespedes worked out so well to trade. This year's trade for Bruce just hasn't worked out. Now, they won in spite of that, but if Bruce were to catch fire, and he's got that potential. Obviously, when he arrived with the Mets from the Reds, he was second in the National League in home runs or something like that. So certainly the potential's there, but he just hasn't shown it yet.
ESPN's Adam Rubin with us here on 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio. Adam, over under 25 times. How many times have you been asked about Tim Tebow since yesterday?
You know what? It's funny. I think there's a ton of national interest in Tim Tebow, and obviously there were, 70 media members there, about 400 fans. I don't think Met fans themselves are overly enthusiastic about it. I mean, certainly they're curious like everyone else, but their focus is on the Major League team right now, trying to get into the postseason. I think most of them view it as somewhere between a publicity stunt and a merchandising venture and things like that, where obviously Tim Tebow from the college football community and the NFL community is so popular, and particularly in the South where he's performing now in Florida. So I think that a lot of the attention is there, but it's not specifically Met fans that are overly enthused about it.
So, Adam, when you hear Sandy Alderson say, it doesn't make sense, we'll give him $100,000 and, we're going to sell a couple $100 worth of T-shirts, it's to get that attention, right?
Well, I mean, it was a little disingenuous. The odds of him reaching the major leagues is absolutely remote. He's 29 years old right now, hasn't played baseball since his junior year of high school. There certainly was a marketing component to it. Do you take them at their word that it's a baseball-only decision? Clearly not. How much of it was marketing, how much of it was baseball? I don't know. I think probably it was more marketing than baseball. One, it gets the brand out there among non-Met fans, say in the South or whatever, and builds up the brand that way. But, I mean, they were wheeling out jerseys yesterday left and right at the complex down there. It was the top seller on MLB.com in terms of jerseys yesterday was a Tim Tebow jersey. Now, the Mets are going to counter that the sales in person, where they actually keep the bulk of the money, were insignificant in person in St. Lucie yesterday where it was working out, and the sales on MLB.com are shared equally among all 30 teams. So their contention is, look, we're not really benefiting from that. Every team benefits equally from that. So it's really not about the merchandising, but I'm not so sure.
What have you heard? Is he actually good?
Well, in terms of batting practice, he clearly has power. He hit a home run today. When he had that showcase at USC a few weeks ago, he did hit at least one home run, I read. So, I mean, the power is there. The questions we haven't seen is, can he actually hit 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, and can he hit sliders and curveballs? And I don't know if we're going to learn that for a while. At some point, he's going to jump into a game, but they floated maybe something into the Arizona Fall League or a Winter League somewhere, but I don't think he's going to be ready for that. So I think what's going to happen is after this 3-week instructional league is over, he'll probably get a lot of individual instruction over the winter, and then come next year, he'll be assigned to out of spring training. Maybe he'll stay in extended spring training a little bit, then get assigned to a short season team next year that starts in June. So we may not know until, say, next June when he starts actually facing, granted, they'll probably be like teenagers from the Dominican Republic, but we will not know till then what can he actually hit, even not major league pitching, but can he hit actual pitching. So it's to be determined. And the other thing to mention, too, is that how serious is this pursuit, actually? Now, he claims it's serious, the Mets claim it's serious, but he's breaking away to go on 2 days a week during instructional league to go on the SEC network and still do his college football commitment. So, I mean, there's a question there, too, about how serious this is from that perspective.
Adam Rubin with us. He covers the Mets for ESPN. Now, Adam, I've always wondered this because you're so dialed into the Mets. When the Mets season ends, whenever that is, what do you do?
Well, last year, for instance, though, the Mets played until November 1st, and really, when you blink, it's already spring training again. There's very little off season with baseball compared to other sports. I mean, I'm down in Florida by February 10th or so for the next spring training. So, I mean, let's say the Mets do make the playoffs and play into October. It's really November, December, January. So you do exhale a little bit, just like a teacher would get off during the summer. But I remember last year after the World Series, the next week we were already at the GM meetings in Florida, and then the winter meetings are in December. There's a ton of issues with the Mets that are going to be coming up this off season. They got to decide. Do they do a qualifying offer to Neil Walker, who's going to be coming off the back surgery? Do they tender or non-tender Lucas Duda? Does Yoenis Cespedes opt out? And do they have a very good chance of resigning him if he does opt out? Because he doesn't want to be here, but I'm sure he's about money too. So, and then all these guys are going to have, the Mets are going to have 4 of their 5 young starting pitchers coming off surgeries going into next season. So it's going to be fascinating to see how those recoveries go as well.
See, some people cover the Mets right now. Adam Rubin of ESPN covers them now and next year already. That's why you're the best, my friend.
Thank you.
Adam, thanks so much, man. Have a great day.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right, Adam Rubin of ESPN.